Almost 10 years since Patty Hearst was kidnapped from her home in Berkeley, California. It's been more than 4 years since she left prison. Since then, she's given very few interviews. She leads a very private life. She's married to Bernie Shaw, her former bodyguard. They have a 2-year-old daughter, and they recently have left the state of California, and Patty Hearst is with us this morning. Patty, nice to see you again.
It's nice to see you, too.
Thank you. During that whole time of the kidnap, the whole period in your prison, it seemed that you could not watch a newscast, read a paper, without reading something about Patty Hearst. Usually, people describing you, who you were, what you weren't, where you were going, where you'd been. I mean, we apparently learned everything there was to know about Patty Hearst. How much of that was accurate?
Practically none of it.
How do you describe who you were then?
Well, during the kidnapping, we had the tapes. I was 19, and before the kidnapping, I was just a 19-year-old college student, and I think probably pretty normal. Maybe studied a little harder than some, but other than that, and then afterward, I became so mysterious that I wasn't even a real person anymore. I was just described as anything people could think up.
How did you describe yourself through that period? You've now had time to look back through that whole period. How do you think now, when you do think about it, of who you were through that whole period? How do you explain it to you?
I was very manipulated through that entire period. Excuse me. And first by the SLA, and of course that's easy to do if you're set out to do that to somebody. And then later through the courts and through the attorneys, and of course part of that's necessary because you need people to help guide you through that kind of a process. But I think that by keeping me so far away from the media during that time and so isolated from people, that it helped create an image that was very harmful.
To you?
To me.
How harmful has it been in the long run to you?
In the long
run,
how has it hurt you? It's hurt me because people thought I was really strange, not just, not nice or stupid or anything like that, but just really a bizarre person that, in fact, when people see me, they'll finally say, I'm just so surprised to see that you're normal. And they think they're giving me a compliment.
How are you treated now? I mean, when you're, you go about your business every day, how do people talk to you, look at you, treat you?
Well, you'll sometimes see the little glimmer of recognition in someone's eyes, and they'll just say, yes, Mrs. Shaw, what would you like? And maybe toward the end of whatever I'm doing, they'll say, it's so nice to see you, and pray for your family.
Or anybody, do they get frightened at all? I mean, do they get nervous? Not frightened, but do they get nervous around you or intimidated?
Not that I know of. When the kidnapping first took place, some of my sister's friends became so nervous that they didn't want them over at the house and just wouldn't see them anymore. And that's when people didn't know what the SLA was or how many people it was. They thought maybe it was, hundreds, and they really did not want family members around them.
When I came to visit you in prison, and we talked for quite some time that day, and you seemed, at the time, even though you were still in prison, you were still in the middle of all of it, you seemed very confident that when you got out of prison, you would be able to pick up your life and lead a very normal kind of life, and you seemed almost placid to me at the time. Looking back, how do you feel you were? Not that you remember exactly our conversation, but...
I wasn't really placid, of course, because so much was going on, and we were trying to sort of get the attention of the president, and of course I was completely self-involved because you can't help it. And I think, though, that attitude that I had at the time, that I was going to go out and have a normal life, helped me, because if you don't feel that way and don't believe that you can get your feet on the ground and go head on with your life, you just would never be able to.
How difficult has it been to come out of prison? You met Bernie, of course, fell in love, got married, have a baby. But how difficult has this all been for you to live what you call a, quote, normal life, and how normal is it?
Well, it's normal. It really is normal. I mean, I have a 2-year-old child and a 15-year-old stepson. So I guess that's not that normal, really. But
more and more it is today.
And
But how difficult has the transition been?
Oh,
What have you dealt with?
I suppose just people's curiosity, for one thing. That was difficult. At first I tried to put everything behind me, and I thought I won't talk about it, and it will all be over. And it just hasn't happened. People are really fascinated by what happened to me, and which is why I ended up writing the book when I did, and I just gave up. I thought, this is it. I'm going to write it. And that way, if first I thought, well, then I won't have to talk about what happened to me at all. And then I realized I just don't even care anymore.
But yet now you're having, in a sense, to come out and talk about it more.
Well,
Why?
that's it. You know, finally, after I finished it, I thought, well, this isn't so bad, and I really had a nice time writing the book.
Was it good for you, emotionally, mentally?
People sometimes think that must have been this great catharsis you went through, and actually I had a wonderful time. It was lots of fun doing it because it was just me. I could sit there and say what happened and say how really horrible those people were, and I didn't have to worry about prosecutors saying, oh, they were just misguided youth. No, they weren't. And I didn't have to write about any of those things. I just got to say, this happened.
To you.
Yeah.
Emily and Bill Harris, out of prison.
Out of prison.
Right. Does that concern you at all?
Well, yes. I mean, I like everybody else, I guess, saw where it said, oh, I don't care. Well, I didn't. And I never said that. I did care. I cared a lot, and I was really upset. But there's very little you can do. They plea bargained, and they got a sentence, and their sentence is up, and they've been released from prison. And at this point, it's over. It's finished. The problem was back with the plea bargaining, and that happens every day. I'm not the only one who gets to watch someone get released from prison.
You're not frightened that they're out?
It scares you. It's a horrible feeling when somebody who has committed so much violence against you gets released from prison. You think, well, why? You know, it's just no time is enough.
And you just said it. We're out of time, too. Patty Hearst, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back.